pen and paper on these player haters, old news, money on the other line. So
ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You. I'm your host, Scott. As usual, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Barberchair Scott. You can follow HNB Media at HNB Media TV on Twitter and at HNB Media on Instagram. Come and support the Barberchair Network. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BarberchairNet and subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/Barberchair Network, man. We got everything on there that you need. Podcast videos, whole bunch of stuff, man. Fuck with us. But we are here, man. It is another week, man. NFL season is over. I am kind of disappointed, not gonna lie. It's like it's like being a little hungover right now. Just, waiting to figure out what I'm going to do next with all this, man. But we got a lot of stuff going on. We're going to talk about the fallout from the Super Bowl. We're going to get into a little NBA talk. We got the homie Travon Edwards, NBA analyst, man, out there. He's going to join me today. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, man. So let's just get into it with my sound off, man. My sound off for this week is going to be the halftime show that we had this week at the Super Bowl. It was Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, 50 Cent, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar. I think this is the GOAT halftime show. And I know a lot of people are saying, GOAT everything. There's been a lot of GOAT conversations since the Super Bowl ended. Is Aaron Donald the GOAT defensive player? Is Matthew Stafford going to be in the Hall of Fame? Is this the GOAT halftime show? Is Cooper Kupp in the GOAT wide receiver conversation? There's been a lot of greatest of all time conversations we've been seeing over this week. I'm going to say it's the best halftime show simply because this is music I grew up on. This is music I grew up on. Now, I did grow up in a Michael Jackson household, and up until this past Sunday, Michael Jackson had the best Super Bowl show that I've ever seen. Now, of course, I saw that Super Bowl show years later, because when it happened, I was 5 years old. If my parents were watching the game, I don't remember fucking watching that game with a halftime show. But I remember seeing it years later, and to me, that was the greatest halftime show. Of course, you can talk about Prince, and I'm going to be 100% real with y'all. I didn't see the Prince halftime show till like 2 years ago. For those of you who wonder why the fuck wasn't I watching that, the Bears were in the Super Bowl. The Bears were playing the Colts in that Super Bowl, and we were losing the halftime. And I remember I was at a halftime party. Shout out to my childhood homie CJ. We was at his house. His dad had a Super Bowl party, and I was out in the freezing cold, in the snow, pacing back and forth, just trying to gain my composure before the second half started, that I didn't see a second of that fucking halftime show. But to me, those are the two that were the GOAT conversations in there. Of course, Beyonce can be in there. She did a great performance over there in New Orleans. She was pretty good when it was her, Coldplay, and Bruno Mars also. But this was just another level. First of all, it's the first time in Super Bowl history we've got a full hip-hop halftime show. We've never gotten that. We've got, a little hip-hop sprinkled in over a couple of years, and we haven't seen a hip-hop artist on stage for any halftime show in my memory since 2003 when the Janet Jackson shit happened. But this is the best because it's the music I grew up on. I'm a Snoop Dogg is in my top 5 favorite rappers list. Kendrick Lamar is in my top 5 favorite rappers. Kendrick's actually my favorite rapper right now. Dr. Dre is my favorite producer. 50 Cent. 50 Cent was the first real rap superstar for me. I was 14 going on 15 years old when Get Rich or Die Trying came out. This is the music I grew up on. It was just an amazing put together show. And it just really celebrated the culture of LA to have this Super Bowl in Inglewood, in Los Angeles, the first Super Bowl in Los Angeles area in over 30 years, and to have the Kings of LA here, to me, was just awesome. The show they put together was incredible, front to back. Set was awesome. I knew it was such a good halftime show that I was more hyped for the halftime show than I was the actual game. And I don't think the Super Bowl was bad. We'll get into the game in a minute, but this was just a different level, and the way that everything intertwined together. I mean, they had a Tam's Burger on the set for the show. For anybody who spent any time in Los Angeles or is from Los Angeles, you know how iconic that is. Like, if I'm gonna give a comparison for my Chicago people out there, that's like if Kanye or somebody did a halftime show and they got a Harold's Chicken on the set. It's to that level. I mean, Tam's is one of the best burgers I've had since being out here. I damn near almost got banged on the first time I went to Tam's. That's a whole different discussion. But and just to see the LA culture on scene and to have Snoop out there, and Snoop, big week for Snoop. finally buying back bought Death Row Records and is taking control of that, bringing a new era of Death Row. His new album drops, and have all that culminate with him being out there with the guy who founded him and Dr. Dre. And Dr. Dre, to me, is the Quincy Jones of hip hop. Everybody on that stage, he either founded or had something to do with them. Founded 50 Cent, founded Eminem, founded Kendrick Lamar, founded Snoop Dogg. And he didn't found Mary J. Blige, but he gave Mary J. one of our biggest hits in Family Affair. And to see all that together, see 50 on stage. And, a lot of people making fun about 50, how he was looking. And one thing I love about 50, man, he talked shit about everybody. He was also talking shit about himself, laughing about himself. That whole thing was pretty funny to me. And Kendrick, I mean, what is there more to say about Mr. Lamar? I mean, he was on the stage with 5 legends. And to me, he had the best performance at all of them, completely bodied it. I've seen Kendrick perform live before, and I hope to see him again. If you haven't, I advise you next time he goes on tour to go watch him. And Eminem, man, I know a lot of people on Twitter, especially Black Twitter, gonna talk. A lot of y'all be lying about Eminem. A lot of y'all be acting like y'all wasn't up here in the early 2000s playing him. I see a lot of bullshit. Oh, black people don't play Eminem. Nigga, the first time I heard Eminem was in the hood. I was in Inglewood the first time I heard Eminem back in 99, 2000. That's the complete total bullshit. We can say whatever you want to say about M's current music or the music he's put out after Eminem show. I'm with you. I don't listen to nothing that came out after the Eminem show. But that first 3 years, them first 3 albums are untouchable to me. I mean, let's not forget the 8 Mile soundtrack. 50 was on there, so Wankster was on there, and the dude Lose Yourself, I think was amazing. I love that song. He killed that performance, and it just kind of brought back all these feelings of my childhood and my teenage years. It's what I completely loved about it. And Mary J. Blige, I mean, she's the queen of hip hop and R&B. I mean, she's one of my top 5 favorite singers ever, and she did her joint. She killed it. It was just great to see everybody on stage and to show everybody that hip hop is pop music. I'm getting tired of these pop acts coming on. Hip hop is the #1 genre. Every type of genre, country, rock, pop music, whatever, they all steal from hip hop. So for us to finally have our moment was incredible, man. And it was gang banging at a high level. I love the synchronized Crip walking that we saw on the stage. It was kind of like Hamilton for Crips. Is what I fucking love. So my hats off to Dr. Dre, Snoop, M, Mary J, 50, Kendrick Lamar, the whole thing, man. To me, that was the GOAT halftime show, man. I truly, truly enjoyed it, man. So let's get into the actual football that was played on the field on Super Bowl 56. The Rams are the Super Bowl champions, man. Matthew Stafford has proved me wrong. He's proven me wrong a little bit. I'm about to get into that in a minute. I don't think he's 100% proved me wrong, but I'll give him this credit. He won. I did not think he could be the quarterback that could go out there and win in the big spots. Like I said on this show, and like I've said on many podcasts and on Twitter before, I didn't think he was that guy. I have never in my entire life thought that Matthew Stafford was a bad quarterback. I never once called him trash. I've always thought that he was the top 10 quarterback. Maybe he was 9 or 10, but I always felt he was top 10 because of the talent. I just didn't feel like he was the guy that could take a team over the hump, which is what the Rams needed to do. The Rams and Jared Goff, as terrible as he is, got to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and he couldn't get them over the hump. He took them over the hump. This wasn't the championship that the Rams won in spite of Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was one of the main reasons they won this championship. I'm going to give my props to him. In my personal opinion, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, and I'll get into that in a minute. But as far as him beating the you can't do this, you can't do that, there's nothing else we can say about him when it comes on that front. He went in there first week of the season, took out his division rival in the Arizona Cardinals, took them completely out of the game. It was a blowout from front to back. And this is the Cardinals team that was 7-0 to start this season. And they completely crumbled and got eliminated right away. Then the most impressive to me was that game against Tom Brady and the champs. Had them down 27-3. Now, granted, they did everything possible. Even he had a couple bad throws in there to bring the Patriots back into that game. But when Tom Brady tied the game up, a lot of teams fold. A lot of teams like, well, it's Tom Brady. There's nothing we can do. He went down there, went for it. Big 70-yard bomb to Cooper Kupp. I mean, those are the type of plays that you want to see from your franchise quarterback. I love Justin Fields. I hope one day he can make a play like that. That's the type of things you want to see. That's the reason that Les Snead traded all those damn draft picks for him. And then go out there and even though he damn near gave the game win the NFC Championship game. But that's the things you got to live with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is a gunslinger, but he had way more ups than downs this year. And in this Super Bowl, he threw 2 picks, Both you can. I wouldn't say either was a bad pick. The second one wasn't even his fault. That was on the wide receiver. The first one, that was a real play. He thought he could, go up there and, they could go up there and grab the ball. It was really essentially a punt. But that 15-yard drive, to me, at the end of that game, first of all, it's the longest drive in Super Bowl history. That's legacy cementing right there. And we're going to talk about legacies with everybody involved on this Rams team, because that's the one thing the Super Bowl does. That's what championships do. And I hate when people say, oh, I hate ring culture. Now, I'm going to talk about that for a minute, because I don't think that just because you don't win a championship that you're not a great player. I think that's bullshit. Charles Barkley is not any less than any other player because he doesn't have a ring. Dan Marino isn't less than any other quarterback because he didn't win a ring. When it comes to legacies, when it comes to having these conversations, you got to have the stats, and championships are the number one thing in there that matters. Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game. If you're not going out there to play for championships, what are you really doing? So this is what Stafford went out there. That was a legacy drive, going out there when they really had nothing going in the second half. Cincinnati had every chance to actually put that game away, and they didn't. And him noticing, and also you got to look at what he was dealing with. He had a second starting tight end playing. The starter was out. Odell went out in the first half with a torn ACL, and I hope Odell gets better. The Bengals did one of the three things I said they need to do last week when it comes to winning the Super Bowl. They had eliminated that running game. Cam Akers was nowhere to be found. Sony Michel was nowhere to be found. And he went out there and said, look, I don't have these options, but I'm going to throw it to Mr. Reliable, Cooper Kupp. And Kupp and Stafford went on a tear. And Cincinnati Bengals fans, I don't want to hear it about those flags at the end of that drive. Were they probably a little ticky-tacky? Maybe a little bit. The one on Cooper Kupp was definitely a pass interference. But let's talk about the T. Higgins play. T. Higgins took Jalen Ramsey's head off when he went into the end zone. So if you want to be real, that was not only pass interference, that was also face mask. So that touchdown should have never happened if you want to argue about them final calls. I thought the officiating, for the most part, as bad as they've been all season, I think this was an ultra bad, maybe the worst season I've ever seen from NFL officials. I think they did pretty good. But Stafford went over there, shut him up, won the game. And I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I think a lot of people are saying, oh, is he Hall of Famer? He's definitely getting a gold jacket now. I think this puts him, we got to see, we can see what he can do over the next couple of years, maybe 3-4 years, if he's able to win an MVP, if he's able to win a couple more championships, maybe. But as of right now, as of when I'm recording this on February 16, 2022, he's not a Hall of Famer. He doesn't have any first, any all pros, any first teams. He never won an MVP, only one Pro Bowl. Granted, I understand he played in Detroit, but that has nothing to do with individual accolades. So I don't think he's a Hall of Famer right now, and I think it's very, very immature. Very premature to say that. And I think Richard Sherman put it best. When it comes to players who should be in the Hall of Fame, it's franchise changers. And I don't think he's there yet. But at the same time, he has a lot of time left to play. He's only 33, 34 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And one thing that the Rams are going to do, they're going to throw that ball. And now that monkey's off his back. I'm going to compare it a little bit to how the Milwaukee Bucks couldn't get over that hump for the last couple of years. Giannis is dominating, but let's not forget, just a year and a half ago, the conversation was Giannis ain't got no bag. Giannis don't have no moves. When is he actually going to do it? He's the Greek fraud. And then he got that monkey off his back, and that just took him into the Milwaukee Bucks to another level. So I think this can possibly do the same for Matthew Stafford, because there's nothing you can really say about him. He can go out there and he can win the game. Yes, he's going to throw some picks. Yes, he's going to do things that's going to fuck them up, time to time. But that's what gunslingers do. That's what Brett Favre did. Brett Favre threw more and damn near more interceptions than he threw touchdowns, and everybody loves this motherfucker. So that's what happens when you have gunslingers, man. So I have to give it to Matthew Stafford. You have somewhat defeated me. And I say somewhat because I still, you haven't really catapulted on any of my lists, but you did what I said you couldn't do. I came on this podcast every damn week of this season. He can't do it. Think I'm going to pick him against Aaron Rodgers? Think I'm going to pick him against Tom Brady? Think I'm picking him against Patrick Mahomes? He shut me up on that front. He went over there and he did it, man. So salute to Matthew Stafford. He's a champion. Now when it comes to the rest of the legacy, we're talking about legacy. We're just talking about Matthew Stafford's legacy. Let's talk about Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald is a freak of nature. I've said this all season. I've said this for years. There's only one player in the entire NFL I'm taking over Aaron Donald, and that's Patrick Mahomes. He went out there and he had a generational, not just season, but a game. At the end, that second half, he said, look, fuck this. I'm not losing this game. And on that last drive, getting the sack to end the game, he was just dominant. And I really feel like there could have been a conversation. I didn't think Matthew Stafford was going MVP regardless, because once he threw them picks and just how the offense kind of stalled in the second half, I knew it was going to either come down to Cooper Kupp or Aaron Donald. And Aaron Donald had a great claim to that. And I think this just solidifies his legacy. I don't think that he's the greatest defensive player of all time. I don't even think he's top 5 yet. Just because there's a lot of great defensive players in the history of this game. I still think number 1 is Lawrence Taylor. You got to put LT in there. You got to put the Dick Buckuses in there. You got to put the Deion Sanders in there. I mean, we could be out here all day. But he's hands down the best defensive player of this generation. And there's nothing else you can say about him. Multiple-time defensive player of the year. He's finally got that Super Bowl ring, man. He's solidified. Now, of course, the rumors have been coming out a Super Bowl weekend that he might call it quits. I mean, Rodney Harrison brought that up in the pregame. And he didn't really shoot it down after the championship in the postgame press conference. He didn't shoot it down. And they're having their parade today. And there was a clip from the parade where they're talking about running it back. And Sean McVay looking super drunk. So let's run it back. And AD paused for a minute. He paused for like a long time before finally saying, yeah, let's run it back. I wouldn't put too much stock in that. Nigga said a lot of things off tequila, and he looked like he just didn't want to leave the crowd hanging. But I do think it's a legitimate chance that he does retire. And this is all these things he's accomplished. He hasn't even been in the league a decade yet. 8 seasons, that's incredible. As a fan, I hope he doesn't retire because I love watching him play the game of football, and I hope he continues it, man. So that's going to be something we're going to see about what's going to happen this offseason. It's one of the offseason things to look at. And the third one, man, Odell. I got to give it up for my man, Odell Beckham Jr. He's been one of my favorite wide receivers from the minute he got into this game. New York didn't appreciate him. The Browns didn't appreciate him. Not only did the Browns not appreciate him, they actually had us believe that he fell off because of that criminal, that overrated, that sober Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, had people thinking that he really fell off, which he didn't. And to see him with the guy who can actually throw, and he just reinvented himself and showed people, reminded people that I'm a top 5 wide receiver in this game when I'm healthy. Had a dominant postseason. I really feel like this game would not have been close whatsoever if Odell did not get hurt. He was already running, had a touchdown on the first drive. He went out there, had 60 yards receiving before he got hurt. I felt like he could have had a claim to the Super Bowl MVP. Now, it's really sad what happened to him with the ACL. But at least he was able to win his championship. Now, we don't know how this affects his free agency. He's going to be a free agent in a couple weeks. He's going to probably be out. I think the earliest he'll probably be able to come back is November, and that's being generous. I mean, ACLs aren't as tough as how they used to be a couple years ago. But at the minimum, you're going to miss at least 9 months. I mean, Cam Akers is just some shit that we've never seen before. So that's definitely not the standard. And this is also the second time that Odell has torn his ACL in the same knee. So that's something to look forward to look at also. But he's just, to me, he there's nothing else you can say about him. He's a gamer, he's a winner, and he's a Super Bowl champion. Now, so when you talk about Odell, you got to refer him as a Super Bowl champion, man. And I feel like I said last week, the reason why I picked the Rams to win this game, because there was just so much riding for Matthew Stafford, so much riding for Odell Beckham Jr., so much riding for Aaron Donald and Sean McVay. And Sean McVay, man, the youngest Super Bowl champion head coach of all time. And there's also rumors about him calling it quits. He's about to get married. He's got a drop dead gorgeous fiance. He's dropped, he can get, there's rumors that he's going to retire and just ride off to the sunset. And now we heard that ESPN might be offering him that they'll chase them to be on that Monday Night Football crew and maybe, kind of replace what John Gruden had after he left. And I think there's a chance that might happen too. So the whole makeup of how this LA Rams team is going to look next year is really up in the air. They've got a lot of free agents. Whitworth, he's going to retire. And then we got to see what's going to happen with Aaron Donald and Sean McVay and then Odell's free agency status. So we don't know what's going to happen, man. But for now, they are the Super Bowl champions, and we got to give it up to them. And also got to give up to Les Snead. He took the unconventional way to a championship. He even wore a shirt today at the parade that said, "Fuck those picks," which I love. The gamble paid off. We always said, and I said it, other media members have said it, trade a lot to get Matthew Stafford. Trade a lot to get Von Miller. Trade a lot to get Jalen Ramsey. All that paid off. Once you win a championship, none of that other things matter. And I love aggressive GMs and I love aggressive front offices because it means that they care about winning. And so my hat's off to them. My hat's off to the entire Los Angeles Rams organization, man. And a great first year at SoFi. I think the whole presentation for the Super Bowl was amazing. SoFi Stadium, It's the best stadium I've ever been to in either sport, basketball, football, baseball. The best stadium I've ever been to in my life, and I definitely know they're going to be back. It was a great Super Bowl week for LA, man, and I'm looking forward to it being back in the city. Now, let's talk about the new era of LA football, man. This is I think the Rams' sixth season since being back in Los Angeles. And I've seen a couple St. Louis sports fans who are kind of salty, and I don't know why, because it's not like they took them from you. You took them from the Rams. Like the Rams' entire history is in Los Angeles outside of that 20-year period that they were in St. Louis. And I really love that the franchises embrace the legends who even played for the St. Louis teams. You know, you've seen Kurt Warner in a bunch of games. You've seen Isaac Bruce a lot of games. Torrey Holt was at the Rams pep rally, Eric Dickerson. So I really love that they're, embracing all the old Rams, even the ones who played at St. Louis. Now, as far as what this means for LA football, I'm kind of up in the air in it. Now, of course, I'm only speaking to somebody who's only lived in Los Angeles for 8 years. I'm not from Los Angeles. I don't remember, the time period when they were in Los Angeles for this. When I moved out here, they didn't have no football team. So I think it helps. I think they can build a new fan base. I mean, LA is a city that loves winners. The fans in this city will not accept anything under championships. So them winning a championship definitely gives them a seat at the table. But I don't think this changes anything in the grand scheme of things when it comes to really building, because this is always going to be a Laker Dodger town. I mean, they won a championship, and we over here talking about why the Lakers still suck. And you can argue that the Dodgers might even have a bigger fan base in LA than the Lakers do. It's that serious. And then you got Trojan football. That's a big thing, I guess. I don't ever think the Rams can crack the big three of of the Lakers and the Dodgers and the Trojans, but it'll be a hot ticket. The Rams games are a place you want to go because they're a great team. They have a high flying offense. They've got great players on both sides of the ball, and just SoFi Stadium is just so amazing. But it was just kind of cool to see a new era kind of be embraced there, man. You've seen different fans. So that's my take on the Super Bowl champions and what it means from LA. Now, there's always two sides to every story of every championship. You got the winners and you've got the losers. The Cincinnati Bengals, man, they are not the champions. They go 0-3 in Super Bowls in franchise history. And I know Bengals fans did not sleep well on Sunday, really all week. Take it from somebody who's seen his team lose in a Super Bowl. It's been 15 years this month since the Bears lost Super Bowl 41, and I'm still not over it. They lost that game when I was 18 years old, and I'm 33, and it still hurts. I can't even watch highlights from the damn game. So I'm not going to sit over here and say, you'll get over it. But what I will say is this. You have the biggest problem solved. You've got a franchise quarterback. That is 90% of being a winning football team in today's era. You have the quarterback. There are different tiers to quarterbacking in the NFL for a fan base. We really need a guy, which is where the Bears were last year. I hope he can be the guy, which is where the Bears are right now, Justin Fields. You hope he can be the guy. And then I think he can be the guy. And then there's the last one. We got our guy. Cincinnati Bengals fans, you're on tier 4. You've got your guy. Joe Burrow is a stud. Joe Burrow, to me, is in the top 3 of the young quarterback class. I still think Mahomes is the king. You got Josh Allen, a very close second, and Burrow's in there. And Burrow's even accomplished more than Josh Allen has now. He's been to the Super Bowl, something that Josh Allen hasn't been. Now the Cincinnati Bengals go, keep this man healthy. You do not want him to be an Andrew Luck Part 2. Where Andrew Luck looked generational. Andrew Luck was amazing, but they couldn't keep this man healthy. Couldn't keep him up straight, to the fact that he retired so early because he just got tired of getting his ass beat. Well, we saw Joe Burrow got sacked 70 times this season, bro. That is ridiculous. He actually played with a strained MCL in the Super Bowl because he kept getting sacked. 7 sacks in the Super Bowl was ridiculous. He's been sacked over 20 times in this postseason alone. That cannot happen. So your number one goal this season, they have, I think, the second most cap space out of any team available this year. Your core is set. You got your young guys. You got your quarterback. You just signed Zach Taylor to an extension, so you got your coach. So now keep your quarterback safe. Spend all your money there. And Cincinnati, now this is a place that players will want to play because they know they can play with Joe Burrow, and they know there's a team that's accomplished anything. Now, we all know it's very tough to get back to the Super Bowl. I mean, a lot of teams haven't done it. I think the last team to even make it back to the Super Bowl after losing. They didn't even they won. So yeah, I think the last team went to back-to-back Super Bowls outside of the Patriots was the Seahawks. So I don't even think we've had a losing team in recent history go back to the Super Bowl. So that's going to be tough. And they're in a division that has some question marks. I think the only person in that division who for sure is a threat is Lamar Jackson. I mean, the Ravens were the number one seed and not just the AFC North, but in the AFC until Lamar got hurt and was out for the rest of the year. So he's definitely going to be a problem that they got to deal with. But that's question marks in the rest of that division. We don't know who the fuck's going to be the quarterback in Pittsburgh. You know, that inmate, Ben Roethlisberger, is not there anymore. And Baker Mayfield's trash. So they ain't got to worry about the damn Browns. So really all right now they have to worry about is Lamar Jackson. Who knows what's going to happen in other situations. But they've got, I won't say favorable, but they're not really in a tough division. So they're going to have that as their easy way to the playoffs. But then you got these dogs. The AFC is a 6-man hell in a cell. You got Patrick Mahomes, who's going to be looking for blood next year. You got Justin Herbert. Once the Chargers learn how to close games, he's a guy you got to deal with. You got Josh Allen. And then you got Lamar Jackson. So it's a quarterback gauntlet in the AFC, but you got your guy. You got your guy. Now protect him, and you see what happens. But I'm not going to tell you that it's going to get any better. This is going to be an extremely long offseason. And I'm going to be real. Next season is not going to be fun because when you lose the Super Bowl, all you're thinking about, I don't care about the regular season. I want to get back to the playoffs. I want to get back to the Super Bowl. So it's going to be next season is going to be not really going to be fun, but at least you got your guy, and you know that as long as he's out there on the field and healthy, he's going to give you a shot, man. Now, that's all I've got to say about the Bengals. This season in general, phenomenal. I enjoyed it. I think it was one of the best NFL seasons in recent memory. I mean, the playoffs were just amazing. Outside of that trash wild card weekend, it was an amazing playoffs. The divisional round was generational. The AFC Championship, NFC Championship game was great. This Super Bowl wasn't the best. I give it a 6 out of 10, but it was entertaining, and it went to the last drive of the game, last play of the game. So that's all you can really ask for Super Bowl, man. So I'm looking forward to next season, man. The one thing about the NFL, it is a 24/7, 365 league now. So we're going to be turning the page very, very quickly. The NFL Combine is in 2 weeks, and 79th and Howlett should be in the building. Shout out my brother Flo, so check that out. Free agency's coming up. What's going to happen? We got a lot of QB questions. Where's Aaron Rodgers going to play? You know, where's Russell Wilson going to play? There's questions about Derek Carr. We know if he gets his legal drama sorted out. There's rumors about Deshaun Watson wanting to play in Tampa. There's a lot of things that's going to be going on. I mean, before you know it, OTA is going to be here. Training camp is going to be here. And we'll be right back here at SoFi Stadium on that Thursday to kick off the 2022 season, man. But one of the other main storylines for this NFL year going into the offseason is the Kyler Murray situation. Kyler Murray did the Generation Z thing of clearing his Instagram probably a couple days before Super Bowl, like on the Super Bowl week. And there's been like a back and forth going on between him and the Arizona Cardinals. Now, my opinion on this is all money based. I feel like this is all money based. I think Kyler is upset that he hasn't gotten a contract extension yet. There hasn't really been any kind of talks about a contract extension. We saw the extension that Patrick Mahomes got after his second year starting, the extension that Josh Allen got after his second career year. He wants that. Now, let's get it very clear. I like Kyler. I think Kyler's a bright quarterback. I think Kyler can be great. He ain't Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. So he's not going to be in the $400 or $500 million range. I'm not going to tell a man or an athlete in general what they feel they're worth. So I'm not mad at him being upset about the contract. But to me, this is a situation that I'm honestly going to blame on the Arizona Cardinals. This is your franchise quarterback. And you got people talking shit about him, putting shit in the media. When you got a real respectable source and Chris Mortensen going on Sunday Night Countdown, and saying that they're calling him selfish. His body language stinks. This is not a guy who's a winner. And things of that nature coming from your own front office. Of course I feel away if I was Kyler Murray. You're making him out to be the scapegoat. Now, Kyler didn't play well in that wild card game by the Rams by any stretch of the means. Shit, Kyler didn't play well the second half of the season. But it ain't just his fault. Kingsbury is still in checks. I've been saying this since day one. He's one of the least qualified head coaches ever. He's still in checks. The defense failed him. You know, there's other places to put your blame outside of Kyler Murray. But I do believe Kyler needs to be a little more accountable. But if you're the front office, you should not be throwing this shit on your guy. That, to me, is irresponsible. They both need to shut the fuck up, get in the same room, and work this shit out. I don't think that this is a situation where he's going to be on another team. I even feel like, they even said that in Morton's report that they plan on talking to him and they think that he'll be starting for the team next year. But figure this shit out, pay him, move the fuck on. That's all I've got for my football takes, man. When we come back, we're going to talk to the homie Travon Edwards of NBA analyst, man, covers a whole bunch of teams, specifically following the Brooklyn Nets. We're gonna get his thoughts about James Harden, Ben Simmons, and everything going on in the association, man. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to I'm Not Gonna Hold You, man. We here got our guest spot this week, man. Got the homie Travon Edwards, aka Black Trey. If anybody follows him in the NBA Twitter circles, man, got the homie here. What's going on, bro?
Ain't much, man. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on, bro. It's always good to, talk hoops with you and things of that nature, man. Let's just get right into it, man. You NBA analyst, man. You've been there. You're in New York City right now. How's the transition been from LA to being out there on the East Coast?
Oh, man, I love New York, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Like, coast to coast G, man. I mean, that's good, man. Being from the crib. I mean, I like how y'all thriving in LA as well. So, you know what I mean? With me growing up here, sometimes you got to kind of branch out and see different things. So in this chapter of my life, New York is where I'm at for the moment.
Yeah, man. It's always good to get like a different view. Like I said, I love Chicago, to the fullest. But I don't think, unless a big check gets me out of here, I think I'm going to be out here in Cali for a minute. But I do love New York. I've been to New York one time and I had a fucking blast. I can only imagine what it's like living there. But speaking of New York, man, let's talk about New York's I would say the good team. Of course, we all know the Knicks are the kings of the city in New York. All my friends from New York will never miss an opportunity to remind me of that. But everything going on with the Nets, man, of course, the Kyrie situation, Kevin Durant is hurt, and of course, this big trade that happened last week between James Harden and Ben Simmons between the Sixers, man. What's your overall thoughts on the whole thing leading up to it, how the trade eventually happened, and their press conference that they had yesterday?
I think this trade works out for all parties. You know what I mean? If you listen to both press conferences, respective parties said what they had to say, you know what I mean? And it was time for change. I mean, obviously the big three in Brooklyn only played 16 games together. So it never was normal, and a lot of frustration happened. But, James ended up in, Philadelphia where he wanted to be, and then Ben Simmons ended up in a new situation where he can start fresh. So I think both players can add value to both teams. Doc Rivers once said before the trade deadline that he needed another guard. He got a Hall of Fame guard in James Harden, and I feel Ben Simmons and Seth Curry and Andre Drummond bring and fill the needs that the Brooklyn Nets needed.
Yeah. I mean, with this trade, to me, it's kind of like, I won't say that either side, like, I feel like it's a win-win for both. Like, Philly got a guy that they needed in Harden, a guy who is going to be there and help out Embiid, because not only has Embiid been healthy this year, I feel like he's the MVP right now. And later on in the show, I'll get into my people need to give more love to, of course, Compton native DeMar DeRozan. I'll get into my rant about that later, but I think Embiid is probably the MVP right now. Now, with the Nets on this side, how much do you really expect to get from Ben Simmons this year with, probably like 20-something games left and them being the AFC? What do you think we can really expect from the Nets after the All-Star break?
I mean, there's really no ceiling, to be honest. I mean, personally, I feel like by the 24th, maybe before March 1st, they're ramped up. That I think the All-Star break is kind of going to work in their favor. I've seen you tweet about, the Bulls, that they were working in their favor, but I think this helps the Nets a little bit more, whether it's practice time, whether it's, guys, gelling a little bit better. But yeah, like, they're not asking him to come in and become this scorer because they don't need that. I mean, they have Kevin Durant, they have other guys that can fill those type of needs, but primary ball handling, when you didn't have Kyrie, you missed that. As far as from a two-guard perspective, you got Seth Curry, who's a shooter who can fill the void until Joe Harris comes back. So, these guys immediately come in as replacement guys, and not saying that James Harden is super replaceable, but his lack of effort sometimes was questioned.
Yeah, yeah,
And, I don't think it's a huge setback losing him that much because of the turnover rate on what was going on. Sometimes he had more turnovers than he had points. Sometimes he had more points. He had good games against bad teams. So I don't say that it's such a chop at the tree when you're adding a primary defender, an all NBA defender in Ben Simmons who can take the load off Kevin Durant, who can solely focus on offense. And then also the difference between Kevin Durant and more so a primary ball handler. He is more effective without the ball.
Yeah.
He should, you know what I mean? So I think those things work in favor, and it gets open shots for a Seth Curry or Joe Harris or Patty Mills.
Now, I agree with that. I think the Nets have like a whole different depth. I really love Seth Curry on that team. I feel like the way Steph is, get them two mixed up. Seth, the way Seth is like kind of went from just being, okay, he's got a little three ball to being a real effective player. And that's, I feel like, was a big blow for Philly to lose him, but they had to give him up. That's going to help. But the question here is the question we've been talking about the Nets all damn year. What can we really expect from Kyrie? I mean, he can only play he can only play 8 of the last 26 games, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's
for now. Up in the air, I'm gonna say by March 1st, I think it'll be lifted. Just because of the transitions of everything and how everything's going. The mask mandate has changed here in New York City. So it's slowly kind of regression. The only thing is, unless, the mayor decides to side with like Broadway extended their mandate until April, which would not work in the Nets' favor. But in this particular situation, I think that, every 5 days they have to renew the mandate. So he has to, each week he has to, decide. And I think when Joe Biden, President Biden decides to do the State of the Union, he'll have a chance to, more so in good graces, I think across statewide, the mask mandates are going to lift, and I think New York follows suit.
Yeah, I would be shocked at that. I mean, in Chicago, they not only lifting the mask mandate, lifting the vaccine mandate. Out here in LA, I think the mask mandate gets lifted next week, but vaccine is still for right now. So I wouldn't be shocked if that was the case. And if that is the case, that opens up everything for me. If Kyrie can play, that takes the Nets from, okay, they might be the favorite now, no matter what seed they are, just because you get KD back and now Kyrie's able to play. And then all Ben's got to do is defend and rebound. So, and I did find it not funny, but like when you just said about the mandate, how Adam Silver was on Get Up this morning, he was kind of like campaigning, like, I don't really get the New York City mandate. Like, Kyrie, away players can play, but home players can't. So I feel like he's been more vocal on that. So from what you're saying, I wouldn't be shocked at that either. So one last thing on the Nets and the Sixers, they had the press conferences yesterday. Two things that stood out to me. One, James Harden was like blaming Kyrie, but not blaming Kyrie at the same time. And Ben Simmons, actually, I was on the scale of people who I didn't really 100% believe the mental health thing, but it sounded a little bit more sincere to me yesterday. Now, because we haven't heard Ben speak in God knows how long. What was your thoughts on both sides of each press conference?
Well, I'll start where I'm close to a little bit, and the Brooklyn Nets side. I'm not going to too much harp on what Ben's dealing with personally. You know what I mean? And it's kind of out there if you dig deep. But he was dealing with some stuff that's off the court that I think anyone would probably be kind of questionable of, considering where their future or whatever's going on internally. And then moving forward on that, him being able to get in a new situation. And like he said, everyone should be happy about him smiling versus the complete opposite, because those things are important and we all deal with certain things, And obviously it's easy from the couch as far as to have an opinion and things. And this man has yet to address it until now. Those were some tough questions that were asked during that press conference, and he stood tall to answer all of them with a straight face. As far as James Harden's situation, I don't really, James being back from my hometown, I'm always going to root for him, whether it's, solely his happiness comes first. And he feels that, Philly is the organization for him. I didn't like the route that he took as far as, maybe kind of making Brooklyn the bad guy, or like they allegedly snatched him out of the air when he was supposed to go get traded to Philly in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
And the proof's in the pudding. I mean, I really hope that this works out for him so that he's not considered the bad guy in the long run. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't work out with you in this city. It didn't work out with you in this city. And it's not working out in the city that you felt like was your dream city.
Right.
So, although I don't think he's chasing happiness, I think that, eventually, I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are going to make tons of money. And as long as he's happy, that's all that matters.
Definitely. I definitely think the pressure's definitely on Harden, man. This is kind of put up a shut up time, man. And speaking of pressure, let's go to another team that was very hyped coming into this season. The Los Angeles Lakers. They are sitting at 9th in the Western Conference right now. What really is this really us saying about this thing? I feel like I'm running out of things to talk about the Lakers every week, but they did not make a move at the deadline. There's been rumors. Dave McMenamin even said that there was a little, LeBron and AD weren't really happy with Rob, that there weren't even any moves made. What's your thoughts on just the first half of the season, and where can they realistically go with only 20-something games left?
I mean, like I said before, my stance has been the same. I didn't have them winning from jump. I think the personnel was just kind of wonky as, how they decided to put this together on paper. Absolutely, they look like they would have been able to do something, but it's so much inconsistencies with the injuries, with, certain guys that, won't make those certain sacrifices. I think that's an even tougher job for the coach and also for the front office to put the right people. And I think that, obviously the Lakers, being who the Lakers are, chase the names instead of actually going to get the dogs that really can contribute. So when you look across the country and you see what Brooklyn's feeling and needs with their trades, instead of going to go get another high profile player, not saying that Ben Simmons doesn't fit that mold of it, right, what it is, but they went and got a need versus, trying to acquire someone with legacy like Russell Westbrook. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, I don't think that it's end all be all. I think the West is very tough. I think that with the Lakers losing to the Suns, they're not feared as much, and they're exposed as a beatable team. I think LeBron is going to continue to play exceptional basketball, but at what cost?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, is he playing for his Instagram account, or is he actually playing to host up hardware? You know what I mean? Like, I won't question his competitiveness, like, you know what I mean? But it turns into a me situation. Yeah. And you've been living in Los Angeles for a while. All the fans care about is wins.
It's winning. That's all they care about.
No triple doubles, none of that stuff.
The Rams are the Super Bowl champions, and all I hear is about the Lakers. What's going on with the Lakers? Mm-hmm. Definitely. So let's talk about a team that you root for along with me, the Chicago Bulls, man. It's been a fun season for the Bulls, man. They've even surpassed my expectations. I was like, yeah, we'll probably be like 5th seed or something. Like 37 wins. If they win tonight, they'll be 38 win, and they'll be number 1 team in the Eastern Conference heading to the All-Star break. What's your thoughts on this whole revival going on in the Windy City? DeMar's MVP campaign and just all the injuries this team has been dealing with. And despite all that, they're still top 2 in the East.
First of all, go check out GQ Sports. DeMar DeRozan, featured athlete. Secondly, I'm super proud of DeMar. I've been watching DeMar since he was 7 years old. So just becoming the man that he is, the leader that he is, the all-star that he is, more so, a cornerstone in our city, one of the leaders. I'm just super proud of him. And then obviously, I was secretly pulling for him to come to Chicago. I knew when he took the meeting, with the Lakers. My mentor, deals with him, as far as on the agent side. So I was close to the situation. But when I heard that he was going to the Bulls, I was super excited. And what he's been capable of doing, I think he's been able to do his entire career. I think he's just got kind of the bad end of the stick sometimes, or mostly blame, especially, with, Kawhi actually getting it done. But I don't think that's solely on him. Like, I think they put the right pieces around Kawhi in that situation that helped him. And it's nothing but respect for DeMar DeRozan because he's a stand-up guy. He never complained. He never made it a big deal about where he was going. He never tried to force himself out of San Antonio. And then even when people doubted him and considered him washed, he took a chance on signing with a franchise that hasn't really done much since the Derrick Rose era and has, embodied, whether taking, sharing the floor with his teammates along with Zach LaVine, teaching him, not even teaching him how to win, but showing him what it takes to win. You know what I mean? Because Zach hadn't won more than 3 games in a row in his professional career. He hadn't, outside of the Team USA basketball, won anything meaningful on a professional level. So just stepping up and showing his leadership, whether it's going to IO's, jersey retirement, showing up for his guys, building confidence, and it's been contagious. And then, kudos to, front office going to make all those moves and bringing the right guys to support DeMar and the rest of the team, you know what I mean? And they've been showing it, you know what I mean? Although, COVID hitting the team hard, whether injuries, these guys have been plug and play. And I think that's, a test to the front office and the characters of the new Bulls.
Yeah. Definitely, man. You talk about the winning attitude. He's definitely brought that. I think Caruso too. I think both DeMar and Caruso have been like such an amazing, addition to this team. Like even when DeMar was signed, I was like, when I first heard it, I was like, okay, that could be nice. I didn't know that he was gonna play as well. Like he's on like a whole nother plane, man. So I'm just really excited to see what the team's gonna do in the second half when everybody gets back together, man. 2 more things, man, before I get you out of here, man. One, let's talk about. I won't say with the halfway mark. People got to stop saying it's a halfway mark. We're like 75% done with this season, but we've only got 20-something games left at the All-Star break. Who do you think right now should be the title favorite? Is it Phoenix, or is there some other team that you think that people should be talking about?
Well, what I always say, man, the season don't start until after All-Star.
Right.
So it ain't even started yet for me. You know what I mean? To be honest, because, guys are, teams shift, make trades, do what they need to do, injuries out of the way. Bad teams go away after All-Star. They know that they're packing it in, starting to sign guys off the street, letting them finish the year out, shutting guys down.
Buyouts. Yeah.
And start working towards that. And then now we start getting into the nitty-gritty of things that count because it's so many games, it's a lot of fluff play. So right now, my Eastern Conference favorites are the Milwaukee Bucks. I still think that, you got to beat them to go through them. You can't just say the Brooklyn Nets got it, this, that, and the third. They still are trying to get where the Milwaukee Bucks are. And then on the Western Conference side, I think Phoenix Suns are the most complete basketball team, and I think that they have a chance to make it back. I'm interested to see, in the conference finals, Milwaukee versus Brooklyn. And then on the Western Conference side, Golden State versus Phoenix. I'm happy with whoever ends up in the finals, but those teams are look like they're gearing up.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I like last year's playoffs, but I think this year's playoffs has a chance to be generational. Like I think it's gonna be so damn good, and I'm looking forward to that, man. Last topic, man. Pivot from the NBA. You're a Rams fan. The Rams won the Super Bowl championship. The parade is out here in LA today, man. Matthew Stafford has defeated me. For anybody knows, I'm a diehard Bears fan, and I didn't think he had it in him. I did not think he had it in him. He went out there, took advantage of it, man. So I want to know, what's your thoughts on not just the Super Bowl, but what do you think this will mean for football in LA? Because, they're back in the city. Do you think this is going to be the beginning of them building a bigger fan base? Of course, we know it's a Dodger and a Laker town. Do you think that them winning a title can at least put them kind of close to those two?
First and foremost, I want to say that I'm a Cowboys fan first.
Oh, Cowboys fan. Okay.
So, no, this is what happened. I quit football, and I know a lot of people tweet me and say, oh, I thought you was a Cowboys fan. I joined after the Rams lost the Super Bowl, and Kaepernick got paid through his settlement. I talked to my dad's brother, and he told me about how they were Rams fans. So I started rooting for the Rams late 2019 for my dad.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, and my dad died when I was young. So I just more so started rocking with the Rams. I don't even know if I'm gonna ever watch football again. They won. So like,
that's real. Yeah.
It's completed. You know what I mean? It's completed. I don't want to make it seem like I just jumped on the team's bandwagon. They weren't good after that year they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they got cracked, and I had to sit through that. So, with them winning, it was exciting. I had never been like a fan of a team that actually won while as an adult, so it was different. But I don't think that they're going to be a football city.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because tradition-wise, for one, a lot of people are not going to just jump. You'll see they'll convert a few people, but this is LA has been such an open city to allow you to be a fan of any team that the loyalty is too strong. So if you're thinking about the Southern Cal region, it's Raiders and Niners. Always. It's always going to be Raiders and Niners. And then you're going to kind of sprinkle in the new people that just kind of joined on when they won. And that's cool and dandy. But LA not having a team for so long allow people to be Steelers fans and Cowboys fans, and you know what I mean. And it doesn't. You're not gonna get that because
it's like a mosh spot. Like I've met a lot of Bears fans out here. Like I've been to Bears bars in Los Angeles. So
it's no territorial thing here. I mean, I think it's more of a freedom of fandom in the city. But I'm glad that we actually have something to rep. And surprisingly, that's the first team I ever rooted for from Los Angeles.
That's interesting. That's interesting, man. Yeah. But then, thank you for joining me, G. Let them know where they can find you, where they can get into anything you got going on. Let the people know.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Travon, on Instagram at Travon Edwards. On Wednesday nights, you can catch me on at the Buzzer with Trey. And be looking out for some other stuff that's coming out.
All right, man. Definitely, man. Thank you for pulling up, bro.
Yep, no problem.
Yes, sir. And we're back. Shout out to Travon Edwards, man. That's my homie. Always good to talk to him, man. Black Trey, if y'all know him through the NBA Twitter circles, man, definitely a great follow. Getting tuned with everything he's got going on, man. As I wrap up this episode, let's get into our Goofy Mog of the Week. My Goofy Mog of the Week isn't to a specific person. It is to these damn MVP rankings and brackets that I see on the internet and on TV and in the media space. Give my man DeMar DeRozan some love. What DeMar is doing right now is crazy. And I feel he should be in the MVP finalists, at least for the first half of the season. I understand we got 24, 25 games left. I get all of that. But what he's done, he's having a career year. He's had 6 straight games of 35-plus points, shooting over 50%. Not even Michael Jordan has done that. You know who he's tied with? Wilt Chamberlain. He's going out there, and I never thought DeMar was weak. I thought DeMar was good. I never thought DeMar was great or anything special before coming to this team. And like I said before, on Third Pick, on this show, multiple podcasts, I didn't watch many Raptor games. I'm going to be the typical American here. Them niggas is playing in Canada. I don't give a fuck about anything going on in Canada. So I didn't watch any Raptors games unless they was on national TV in the playoffs. I only saw a little bit of DeMar. You know damn well I ain't watched nothing in San Antonio. Post Duncan, post Kawhi, that's like getting sent to the abyss. So I don't know what the hell was going on there. But to see him just completely have a career and put this team on the shoulders, take a team that hasn't had anything to be excited about since Derrick Rose got traded, and to just carry this team to be right now, as we're recording this, tied for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. And if they beat Sacramento tonight, they'll be standing alone in the East, number 1, heading into the All-Star break. 37 wins, already beat last year's total of wins in the first half of the season. And let's talk about everything the Bulls have been dealing with. This is a team that got ravaged by COVID in December. I mean, we had guys who, I follow the Bulls more closely than any NBA team. I didn't know who the fuck these dudes were. He's carried all of them, dealing with all their injuries. Alex Caruso has been out a month and is going to be out probably a couple more weeks. Same thing with Lonzo. Now Zach is dealing with knee issues. Derrick Jones Jr. was out for a minute. Javonte Green was out for a minute. And he said, fuck all that. And he's carried this team to keep them in this tight, contested Eastern Conference thing, man. And you got to give your love to DeMar. I'm not saying that DeMar should win the MVP. I'm not saying that DeMar should be the favorite. I still think that's Joel Embiid. But if you had to ask me today, I think he's number 2. I don't want to hear about what Jokic is doing. I don't want to hear about when, Steph is kind of falling off the map a little bit. I get Jokic is putting up amazing numbers, but look at the Denver Nuggets. They're number 6. Now, as far as the NBA votes, now we have 2 different conversations. I have a long-standing thing, and I feel like NBA MVP should just be strictly statistics. And if you're going off that, then yes, Jokic probably should be number 2. But with the way you're voting in the NBA is statistics and team success. The Nuggets have not been that damn good. They are barely holding on to that final playoff spot before dropping into the play-in. That, to me, that eliminates him. You can have a conversation for Ja being number 2. I'm not mad at that. But when Ja missed a lot of those games, the Grizzlies didn't really lose any steam. The Grizzlies were still winning games even without Ja. And what Giannis is doing is incredible, but the Bucks are kind of coasting. So you got to take what DeMar's doing and look at just everything that the Bulls have been dealing with and still ahead of all those teams in the standing. That, to me, is why I would have him number 2. So stop with these lists where you have him like ranked 6. Give DeMar his credit. And check out that GQ article, man. A great article on DeMar, everything he's been going on. So salute to him, man. So That's all I've got for y'all today on this edition of I'm Not Gonna Hold You. We're gonna take a little 2-week hiatus. Next week, the NBA will be on All-Star break, so really not gonna be anything to talk about going on there. The NFL's in a dead period right now, and of course, thanks to Rob Manfred, we still have no fucking baseball. So we'll be back first week of March. We should be back in the studio by then, so I'm looking forward to getting back in the studio. I appreciate everybody watching this show, and man, y'all know where to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BarbChairScott. You can follow this great network this show is on, HNB Media, at HNB Media TV on Twitter and at HNB Media on Instagram. Follow the Barber's Chair Network at Barber's Chair Net on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/Barber's Chair Network. We got a $5 summer sessions package if you just want to hear the guys. Summer sessions will be back this week. Me, Flows, Damien. We got the homie JR Bang from First Black Champ, also on the Barber's Chair Network. We'll be filling in for Pav this week, so check that out. And we got the $5 79th and Hallis package, which starting next week. Me and my brother Flo is going to be hitting y'all with a whole bunch of off-season content. Look out for our new show called 79th and Hallis Presents, where we're going to be watching old school classic Chicago Bears games and live commentating that shit and a whole bunch of other things. My brother Flo's got a breakdown, kind of like a Baldy's breakdown type series that he's going to be doing. So stay in tune with that. And if you just want all of it, because we got video. We're going to have videos for all our podcasts starting next week on the Patreon. If you want all of it, sign up to our Barber's Chair Network all access $10 package. We appreciate every last one of y'all who's giving us a hard-earned money. We can't do a lot of this stuff without y'all help. So I appreciate y'all, the company, appreciate y'all, man. And I want to give a shout out to my super producers, TPJ and Pavi, every week, always helping me on this show. And we'll holler at y'all in 2 weeks, man. Enjoy the All-Star break. I'm out.
Triple double hat trick, I know the code too. Ice trade, go for trade, yeah, we cold too. Getting paper on these player haters, old news. Money on the other line, so I'm not gonna hold you. Money on the other line.